The Bronx Zoo, New York City, 1906. 40,000 people stood in line on a single Sunday morning. Not to see lions, not to see elephants, to see a man, a human being, behind iron bars, labeled like an animal. And the most disturbing part? The scientist who put him there called it education. His name was Ota Benga, born 1883, deep in the Ituri forest, Equatorial Congo. One of them beauty people, a hunter, a husband, a father. His world was ancient, self-sufficient, and his. Then Belgium arrived. King Leopold II had claimed the entire Congo as his personal property at the 1885 Berlin Conference. Not Belgium's property, his. One man owned a country the size of Western Europe, and he intended to profit from it. His private army, the force publique, moved through the forest with machetes and rifles, forcing villages into rubber quotas. Miss your quota, lose a hand. Resist, lose your family. Ota Benga was away hunting the morning they came for his village. He came back to ash. His wife, his children, gone. He was later captured and sold into slavery to a rival tribe. He was 21 years old, and his entire world had been erased. That is where Samuel Phillips Verner found him. Verner was an American, a self-styled explorer from South Carolina, a former missionary who had abandoned saving souls in favor of something far more profitable: selling human beings to exhibitions. He had a contract with the organizers of the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. His job? Bring back African pygmies for display. He purchased Ota Benga from slave traders on the Congo River. He brought him to America, and at the Louisiana Purchase Exposition in St. Louis, Ota Benga was placed inside a fenced enclosure with 4 other beauty men. A handwritten sign on the fence read, "Congo Pygmies." Hundreds of thousands of white American visitors paid for tickets to walk past and stare. Verner was awarded a gold medal in anthropology for his contribution to the exhibition. A gold medal for buying and displaying a human being. But St. Louis was only the beginning. By 1906, Verner had run out of money. He needed somewhere to keep Ota Benga while he figured out his next move. He called William Hornaday, director of the Bronx Zoo. Hornaday agreed to house Benga temporarily on zoo grounds. Then he noticed something. Every time Benga walked past an animal enclosure, the crowd stopped watching the animals. They started watching him. Hornaday smelled profit. Within weeks, he had enlisted the support of Madison Grant, secretary of the New York Zoological Society, eugenicist, white supremacist, and one of the most powerful men in New York. Together, they built an exhibit. They placed Ota Benga inside the Monkey House, the primate enclosure, with an orangutan named Dohong, a chimpanzee, and a parrot. They scattered animal bones across the cage floor, deliberately, to suggest to visitors that the man inside ate human flesh. They handed him a bow and arrow. Then they nailed a sign to the wall outside. The African pygmy, Ota Benga, age 23, height 4 feet 11 inches, weight 103 pounds. Brought from the Kasai River, Congo Free State, South Central Africa. Exhibited each afternoon during September. Not a person, a specimen. Measured, labeled, scheduled. On September 8, 1906, the exhibit opened. By the next morning, the New York Times headline read, "Bushman shares a cage with Bronx Park apes." New York went wild. On Sunday, September 9th, 20,000 people came. By Sunday, September 16th, 40,000. They pressed against the iron bars, howling and jeering. They pulled at his limbs through the bars. They poked his ribs. They threw food at him. They mimicked his movements and screamed with laughter when he reacted. The New York Times noted that few expressed audible objection to the sight of a human being in a cage with monkeys. Few expressed audible objection. The crowd did not see a man. They had been told they were watching evolution. Told that this man, this human being with a family, with grief, with skill, with a language and a history, was the missing link between ape and human. Science said so. The zoo said so. The newspaper said so. So 40,000 people believed it. But Ota Benga did not accept it. He picked up his bow and shot at visitors who mocked him. He hurled a chair across a room, narrowly missing a wealthy donor's wife. He slipped past guards. He fought back in every way available to a man with no legal rights, no language that anyone around him spoke, and iron bars between him and the world. He was 23 years old. The only people who stood up for him were black. A coalition of African-American clergymen, led by Reverend James H. Gordon, marched to City Hall to demand his release. They petitioned the mayor. They threatened legal action. Reverend Gordon told the press, "Our race is depressed enough without exhibiting one of us with the apes. We think we are worthy of being considered human beings with souls." Mayor McClellan refused to meet them. Hornaday wrote to the mayor afterward, praising his refusal to engage, calling the entire controversy, in his own words, the most amusing passage in the zoo's history. The most amusing passage. A man in a cage. And they were amused. The exhibition was suspended, not because the city intervened, not because Hornaday grew a conscience, but because the public backlash and Benga's escalating resistance made the exhibit unmanageable. He was released to a children's orphanage in Brooklyn, an adult man, sent to live with children, because no one knew what else to do with him. In 1910, he was moved to Lynchburg, Virginia. His traditionally sharpened teeth were capped without his meaningful consent to make him more acceptable. He was dressed in Western clothes, tutored in English, put to work in a tobacco factory. He learned. He adapted. He taught local boys to hunt and fish. For a moment, something like life was possible. Then he tried to go home. World War I had started. All transatlantic passenger travel was suspended. The ships stopped sailing. The Congo was 5,000 miles away, and the war had locked the door. He would never see his forest again. On March 20th, 1916, Ota Benga walked into the Virginia woods. He built a small ceremonial fire. He removed the metal caps from his teeth, piece by piece, reclaiming the last physical part of himself that had been taken. Then he ended his life. He was 33 years old. In 2020, 114 years later, the Wildlife Conservation Society issued a formal apology for what the Bronx Zoo did to Ota Benga. 114 years. His name is on no monument. There is no marker at the Monkey House where he stood behind bars while 40,000 people laughed. The sign is gone. The bones are gone. The cage looks just like all the other cages now. But Ota Benga was real. He had a name before Verner gave him one. He had a family before Leopold took them. He had a home before the force public burned it. And America put him in a cage and charged admission. If this story made you feel something good, that feeling is how you know you still have a conscience. Share this video. Say his name. Because the worst thing that can happen to Ota Benga now, the final erasure, is that the world simply forgets he existed. Comment remember below. He deserves at least that much.